Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's training about settings. My name is Alex, and I work here on the support team. I'm going to be walking us through today's call, and if you have questions as we go, please feel free to enter those into the questions box on your end, as I would love to answer those as we move along here. All right. So up till now, we've previously hosted this webinar about settings in one segment, but because of the numerous ways you can customize Tripleseat for your business, we're going to break this down into a deep dive into a two-part series. So this first call today will focus on general site management, the best quick win tools to maximize your team's efficiency, and we'll cover the lead form, right? And that's how you're going to connect Tripleseat to your event sales funnel. Specifically, the hubs of feature we're going to look at are your preferences, locations, users and user roles, file library, email templates, discussion groups, pick lists, and finally the lead form. In this call, we're not going to review document customization, sales goals and fiscal periods, auto tasks, content templates, billing details, menu item categories, or Tripleseat Direct. So if you only have a question about the latter group of features, I will not be offended if you skip this training and just attend the next one. It's going to be in April, because again, we're going to focus on those site-wide preferences and those quick win tools and the lead form. All right, so we've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to jump right in. The first topic we're going to talk about today are your site preferences, right? So here we are in settings, and it is this first option. Preferences represent the broadest changes you can make in Tripleseat, as any adjustment here will impact all locations within your group. On this first tab, as this header suggests, are some general adjustments you can make, mostly having to do with your calendar and your time zone. If you want, you can opt to use a 24-hour clock. Here's where you can set the default currency symbol for your group. If you'd like, you can change your calendar, so the calendar start date. So this would impact if you're looking at a week view or month view of your calendar. Do you want Monday to be the first day slot that all subsequent days follow, right? You could change that to Sunday, any day of the week, really. You can also customize the format of your event dates in Tripleseat. And on the right, you can set default calendar start and end times. So maybe there are only a few venues within your group, and all of those venues are only open. Maybe they're only open from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night. Setting these default calendar start and end time is going to help you maximize your page efficiency on the calendar, right? It will condense all time options before this noon time slot, right? So you're not wasting space on your calendar for times when you're not even open. And then there's also an option to include holidays. So you don't have to, but you can opt to include federal holidays on your Tripleseat calendar here. You'll notice there are some more checkboxes in this section. The first one would be to send internal lead notification emails. So we're going to talk in a bit about how to set up the list of users who should be notified about new leads at each location, right, when a new lead submits online. But if you check off this checkbox, it will also mean if you or your team use this button in the upper right, the one for new lead, to create a lead in Tripleseat, the same list of lead notification recipients is going to get notified about that action in the same way they would be notified if the lead came in online. This next checkbox has to do with task assignment emails. This means if someone gets assigned to an automatic or manual task, they're going to get a notification right here in this globe icon in the upper right of the screen, informing them of that action. This last selection is to revoke e-signatures on change. So As you might already know, docs in Tripleseat, when you share them in the portal, that's going to be a live version of the doc. And what I mean by that is, regardless of whether or not anyone is signed, if you go into that document template on your end, maybe you add pick list items, adjust the terms, or make any sort of change, right? That change is automatically going to reflect in the document you've shared on the portal. So if you wanted to make it so any change you make revokes an e-signature, right? So your guest has to sign again, you'd simply want to check that box there. Lower down on this page in Preferences is where you can customize your event status rules. By default, new Tripleseat customers are set up so that only prospect events may overlap with other prospect events, right? And we just do this to prevent the likelihood of accidentally overbooking. If you want to, however, you can come in and change this. Maybe you want prospect and tentative events to overlap with each other. You'd simply check off those boxes to adjust the status rules. Again, keep in mind, like if you make these event status rules so that they're allowed to overlap, it could be that you accidentally overbook a space. So you just need to be mindful of that. You'll also notice, guys, there's this button, change waitlist status or unassigned room. In addition to these statuses here, you can also enable waitlist as an extra status option. This is a great option if maybe there's a room at your venue that a lot of people write in requesting to book specifically. You can create a waitlisted event in that room, even if there's already another definite event on the books. That way, if the first event falls through, your waitlisted event will bump to prospect and you can follow up with that person about that potential business. This other option here, where it says allow events to be entered without an assigned area, you can turn this on if maybe you want to be able to create a prospect event on your calendar, even if the guest doesn't know which room specifically they'd like to book in. So, you would be able to create an event and just put it in a room called unassigned. The last thing here on your general preferences page is purely aesthetics, right? This is going to be the color theme of your Tripleseat. If you change that out, you'll notice it's just going to change the color scheme. I'm actually going to change that back because yellow is a great color, but this is my default preference. Another thing I want to point out, guys, is this tab in Preferences for dropdowns. Here is where you can customize the selections available for some out-of-the-box fields that come with your Tripleseat, right? These fields themselves will live in various parts of your site, but strategically customizing the options will enable you to extract better insights about your business when you go to report. So let's take event types as an example, right? Maybe it comes by default, breakfast, lunch, dinner, meeting, like some of these general options. But say during the pandemic, you started doing more virtual events. I would recommend setting that up as a type if you haven't already. You would simply click add another, you could type in virtual event, and then anytime you and your team go to plan one of these virtual events, if you define the type as such, you'll be able to report on the quantity of all of your virtual events. You can look at the sales, the actual sales and grand total sales of those events. So it can be really helpful if you're trying to strategize how you and your team spend your time. Another example, lead source, right? Maybe you're going to do an email marketing campaign around the holidays. You could set up that lead source for 2021 or 22 holiday campaign. Always make sure to click update at the bottom after you make a change. All right. Just remember, again, all these dropdowns are going to be shared by all locations within your group. Cool. So now that we've reviewed those group-wide preferences, You may want to nuance some of the rules for your specific locations. For that, we're just going to pop into locations here from settings. Here you'll see all locations enrolled in a Tripleseat subscription with a preview of its rooms on the right. If you pop into organize here, here's where you can adjust the list order of these rooms. And beyond simply changing the order, you can also set up nesting. Got it. So perhaps you want to set up a full buyout. You could nest all of your rooms or your spaces underneath that buyout. Maybe there's like a patio and veranda mini buyout, and then these private dining rooms, the wine cellar might be separate. This is just helpful because if you ever want to be able to pull all rooms quickly for an event, maybe someone's buying out the whole venue, you would simply check this first option and all rooms would be reserved. Similarly, if you only select main dining room and you have a definite event, right, anyone trying to book a full buyout on that day won't be able to because they'll notice, right, one of those spaces already has business booked. Beyond changing the order, though, there may be other things you'd like to specify about each of your locations. So if we go back to settings, locations, you can click edit details for one of your businesses. You can set up the email address associated with this entire location, this location's website. You can also define the currency symbol and date format. I mean, in all likelihood, most of your businesses are probably within the same country, but if you did need this one specific business to have, maybe it's the Canadian dollar, you could set that default currency symbol just for this one business. You can put your business's phone number. And then super important on this page, here is where you can add the logo and the banner photos, right? That will display to your guests in their guest portal and on the lead forms. You also can customize the calendar color. So this would be if you're looking at your calendar and you want to change so it colors by the location where your events are at, you could click in and use this color wheel to adjust from like maybe this aubergine. Maybe you want it like magenta instead. Then scrolling down on the page, you can define which event styles are available at the location. So your event styles streamline the planning process at your venue, depending on whether the event takes place on or off premise. So beyond simply being something you can check off, they do add functions. So if you were to create a new event for full service catering, additional fields would appear where you could enter in the delivery address you're bringing all that food and services to. So maybe this one business only does on-premise and full service. You could limit the styles available at this location as you need to. You can also set a delivery radius. Maybe you don't want to deliver catered events that are more than 15 miles from your business address. Maybe you only want it to apply to your lead form. You can set that all up here. Probably the most important thing on this page, though, are your lead notifications. So notifications about new lead in Tripleseat are set up here on the location page. And checking off someone's name here does two things. So, right, maybe these are the folks who should be informed anytime someone submits a lead online. Not only will they get an email notification about the new lead, these folks will also default as CCs on email messages you send at the lead level, just for visibility and to make sure the whole group, right, is up to date about those initial inquiry conversations. So it's twofold, right? They're going to get notified and then they're going to default as CCs on lead level emails. You can also set up someone to be notified about new leads even if they aren't a Tripleseat user. You'd simply want to type in their email address in this field. The last option, right, remove lead recipients from discussions after lead conversion. That would simply mean after I convert a lead into an event, any discussions that we have going forward on the event level, they're not going to include Chad and Lisa as well, right? Their names are going to come off if we check this box here. And I'm going to click update. Cool. Oh, the last thing I want to point out, guys, if you're looking at a particular details page for a location, you're going to see this other tab for assignments. Now, I don't like to come here to make tons of changes, but I like this tab because it quickly shows me all of the tools available at a business in Tripleseat, right? So here I can see what document sets are available, okay, right? I could see what pick lists are available, all of this information, including all of my users, right? So I just like to point that out. We're here looking at a location and we're in the tab for assignments. Just a pro tip there. So now that we've reviewed how to set parameters around your site in Tripleseat, and we've refined each location's information, then you can decide who has access to your Tripleseat and what that access looks like. So we're going to talk about users and user roles. First, we're going to pop over here into our users. On this page, you're going to see everyone whose role in Tripleseat is equivalent to or lesser than yours in terms of permissions. Right, on this main section, you're going to see each user represented by a row with columns for their name, email address, their job title, and their user role. If they have access to multiple locations, you can even hover to preview which businesses they have access at. And at the top of the page are some tools to help you slice through the data, right? You can search for somebody by their name or email. You can filter for just one of your locations, or you could filter by their user role. On this page, you can use this new user button to set up a new teammate so they have access to your Tripleseat. You would start by filling in these mandatory fields at the top. Patrick, Picasso, and then you would put their email address, their job title, right? Maybe they are an event planner, and you could put a phone number as well. What's really important on this page, guys, is this lower section, and this is where you're going to define this user's role. The first option would be to make them a customer admin. User roles are very flexible. However, this customer admin is the only user role that is not customizable, and it's because it's the highest level of access. A customer admin is unique from other admin because they can set up online payment integrations, and they're the only role who can unequivocally customize other global user roles. So I designate this to only a very few number of people. And instead, what I would do is I'd start by selecting which locations Patrick needs access at. You'll notice that when I did so, all of these drop downs unlocked. And there are two types of roles that I could give Patrick. The first one is this default role here. And if you use this drop down, what you're going to see are what we refer to as global user roles. These are the most customizable around what one can and cannot access and do in Tripleseat, and they should be the primary way you give a new teammate functionality in the site. If you only have one location, you should only ever use this default role dropdown, or if the person you are creating only has one location access, you should only ever use this dropdown. The second type of role available is called a location-based role. You'll notice, right, these are different options. These are far less customizable, but are a great way to give someone limited access to a second or third business, right? Maybe they only need to be able to enter leads and view events at this other business, but at the Trattoria, right, they need to have more access. Because this drop down to the right of Trattoria says default, it's going to pull permissions from this general user global role, and they're going to have a more limited location-based role at this bagel shop. Then when you click create, Tripleseat's going to send them an email they can use to log in for the first time. Now on the flip side, right, you're not always going to be adding users. There will be times you have to revoke people's access to Tripleseat. Let's say, for instance, Dominique, maybe she recently resigned from her position. You will have two ways to remove her access in Tripleseat. The first method would be to come here to her user page and uncheck the box that says this user is active. If you were to click update, that would suspend her, so she would not be able to log in, but her name would stay attached to all events, leads, contacts that she was in charge of, so you could report on her sales historically. Suspending a user is nice because you can easily make them active again, should you need to. The second option to remove Dominique would be to delete her entirely. So you're going to see this button in the upper right to delete her. This action is more drastic and cannot be reversed. But if you delete somebody in Tripleseat, you are going to be asked to reassign all of their events, tasks, leads, and contacts to another person, right? So that person would inherit all of Dominique's past business. If you pay people on a commission-based structure, just keep in mind that because all of this person's past business is flowing to some other user, the person inheriting Dominique's events will look like they did more in sales than is accurate. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Finally, if we just pop back, at the very top of this user page, you can always click display suspended should you need to reactivate somebody, right? You would just click on their name and check off this user is active and update. Okay, so now that we've reviewed, right, how to add and manage users, I'm going to talk a bit about how to customize the roles available. So we're going back to settings in our left sidebar and clicking user roles right here. All right. So you'll see this page is divided in half with those global roles, right? The primary way you should be assigning someone access, aptly placed at the top, and your more limited location-based roles are at the bottom. Should you ever need to increase the scope of permissions for a role, you would come here, right? Click on the name of the role you're looking to adjust. And on this page, here's where you can really define what this junior admin can do, right? Maybe in addition to helping you manage your pick list, content templates, your email templates, and tasks, you also want them, maybe they're helping you with your sales goals, your discussion groups, right? You can just check these boxes. And there are some parts of this page where permissions are defined using a drop-down instead of a checkbox. Where that's true, like say for instance here in events, you'll always find this hierarchical order from least to most permissions, right? So someone could have absolutely no access to events. Maybe they can only view events. And here you'll notice maybe you don't want them to see financials or uploads, right? You can customize that. Create, maybe they're able to create events, right? All the way through administer. And you can adjust these as you need. What's really important here, if you come to all the way to the bottom, even if you never create a custom role from scratch or you never really go wild in the section above, here where it says documents, this you are more likely to use because if you ever create a new document layout or template, you're going to need to update user roles so they have access to it, right? So like, let's say in theory, I just made this catering specific. document template and layout. I would check off here if I need the junior admin to be able to create and edit catering contract and event orders, right? That's the document template where you enter your pick list items and your notes about an event. Then on the right, if they need to be able to see, right, the invoice, pack sheet, proposal, and BEO, those are the layouts, I would check off those boxes and I would hit update at the very bottom. Excellent. So the cluster of features we've discussed so far pertain to the way you can administer the parameters of your business in Tripleseat, along with those people who may access it. The next segment of this training, we're going to pivot and we're going to focus on WIRs, or Wicked Important Resources. So what we're going to do, we're going to pop back to settings. The first important resource I want to point out is the file library. Think of this as a digital vault for any files that your team regularly share or refer to. Uploading those files here will reduce the chance of user error, right? So you're making it less likely that an event planner will accidentally upload the wrong file from his or her computer. And examples of files that you might want to upload are venue photos, floor plans, and PDF copies of your menus maybe. Organizing this library will serve you in the long run, and because you cannot move files from folder to folder once you upload them, it's really important to think about, right, how you want to set up your folders. To create an entirely new folder, you would come here to the tab that says Upload to Library. And maybe I want to create a new folder just at Mr. Crepe. The kinds of files I'm going to upload here are going to be specific to this business. So I'm going to make the title as such. And then simply what I would do, let's see if I have any files. Right, what I could do is I could simply drag and drop a photo that I want to live within this folder. And then now we'll notice we have a new folder for Mr. Crepe along with that image I've just uploaded. Got it. The second important resource I want to review today are email discussion templates. I love email templates. Any chance I can, I talk about them. And you would access them here in settings on the right, discussion email templates. These are helpful because they can standardize the tone and language across your organization and streamline some of the major communication like milestones, if you will, that you know you're going to send out. So here you'll find that this page for your email templates is going to be divided into sections. And these sections refer to where in the event planning lifecycle that email will be available to send. Right, so these 3 emails underneath lead templates will only be available to send on leads and will not appear once you convert a lead into an event. Right, so you just want to make sure that when you create your template, you're putting it in the section where you need to use it. I'm going to click edit to the right of this lead date available. And here's where you can come to customize an email template. Right, on the right, you can decide which locations this email template should be available. You can set up your template so it always includes your email signature or the email signature of whoever's sending it. And then there's this option, include this email in guest response. So because of the way emailing works in Tripleseat, it's not like Google or Gmail where all email, like all conversation up to that point gets included in your new reply. It's only going to send your most recent message to your guest or vice versa. However, if you want your guests to be able to write into the body of the email you send them, you would want to check off this box. So maybe you're asking them questions about, right, their event preferences. You want them to reply immediately underneath each question you've asked. You would check off this box so they can do that on their end. You can also set up a subject line. Maybe I want to call this event request. And then if you right click, or if you use a trackpad, you're going to want to click with 2 fingers. Here you're going to see merge fields, right? So you can add a field that will pull data automatically. Maybe I want to put the location name. And you can also do that in the body of your text. The advantage of using merge fields is that you can use this email template at all 4 of your businesses, right? Because it's going to pull the title of the business in question, and it'll just save you a bit of time. If you want, you can customize this by inserting a photo from your file library to really zhuzh it up. And then you'd click save when you're happy with that. Another tip to help you streamline, right, your efficiency in terms of communication. Excuse me. If we come back to settings, you're going to find this section for discussion groups. So discussion groups will allow you to add a group of users as a CC without having to type in each email one by one. So say, right, you could create a new group from scratch, or you can edit an existing group. Perhaps this is my front of house team, and I frequently email all 5 of these people together. And I could add someone to this list and click save. Then if I were to go send an internal email for an event or lead, and I start typing front of house, right, I could just select front of house and all 6 members would get added automatically. Okay, we're cruising along. If we go back to settings and scroll a bit further down, I do want to touch upon pick lists, which are right here. And these are truly wicked important. We have a weekly webinar exclusively on pick lists. So I'm not going to go overboard here, but I do want to give a quick demonstration. So your pick lists matter because they're going to allow you to add cost to your events and bookings. Setting up your frequently charged items here in settings will save you a ton of time when creating your documents for events. So right, we're in here, settings, pick lists, and you'll find these collections of items or your pick lists on the page, along with tools. Maybe you only want to see pick lists available at the Trattoria, Fondue Forever. Maybe a lot of these are available everywhere. That's cool. And we're going to click the gear icon and edit to the right of one of these pick lists, should we ever need to make changes. So here in our a la carte dinner menu pick list, the page is divided into sections. At the top, you can set the name of this pick list. You can define which locations these items are available at. In the lower section of the screen, you'll see each of those items, and there are these tools right in the middle. The tool I use most frequently when editing pick lists is this one here. Do you guys see it? It's all the way on the right. It's expand all. I like this because it's quickly going to expand all of my pick list items so I can see a little bit more information. You'll notice, right, most of these pick lists are chargeable items, right? They have cost associated, but you can also create a pick list item that's really just a design element, right? You could say raw bar, and then all items underneath it would be, right, raw bar items. But you will also find for each item, there's this long description. This can be a great place to detail out information that you want maybe your chef, your kitchen team to view, but you may not want to have your guests see, right? You could type in 8 shrimp per serving. Maybe I want that to be italicized, maybe in bold, so the team really doesn't miss it. That's where you can put the long description. And you'll notice each pick list item has a category. And so this category is going to define which taxes and fees should get automatically counted up for these pick list items. Say my business recently added a new admin fee, right? We didn't have this admin fee previously. What you can do using this tool section is you can mass assign that new admin fee to all items. And I love doing it. It just feels great. I don't have to go through and check off each admin fee one by one. And then I can expand all again to collapse it and keep it more clean and clear now that I've made my changes. And if you ever needed to add more items to your pick list, you can do so at the very bottom here. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to add a new dessert item. Maybe it's going to be called, an Italian bakery platter. I'm just highlighting, and I'm on a Mac, so I Command B to make it bold. Then I'm going to hold Shift and Enter to move my cursor to the next line. And here I just want to add a little more info for my guests, right? Maybe I want to say comes with cannoli, lobster tails, Florentines, and rainbow cookies. It sounds so good. Okay. Oh, guys, I'm in Boston and the Italian bakeries around here are just crazy. And maybe this is going to be like 25 bucks. You always want to give a new item a category so it gets the appropriate taxes and fees. And super important, in the very lower right, this plus add. This is going to be how you push that item onto the main section. So you can click save and that item, is going to appear. And maybe I want to move this up in my order. I just use this cross-sectional arrow to kind of drag it and drop it. I'm going to click save. So those changes will not impact event documents where those items have already been added, but going forward, all of those items will default to have that admin fee I've added on, and it will show that Italian bakery platter that I've created. Okay, we're going to go back into settings here. And the last wicked important resource that we are going to review are your lead forms. So we're going to scroll down. It's right here. Your lead forms matter because they're going to connect your sales funnel, i.e. people visiting your website, to Tripleseat, right? So folks can simply type in their information, submit an event request. Your web person will need to put one of these forms onto your website, and there are two popular ways of doing that. Some people like to go here into setup codes. Your web person will grab what we call the embedded script, and they can use HTML and CSS to embed that on your web page. The embedded lead form is nice because all of those fields about your event request, they're going to appear directly on your website, and your web person can customize the font and the text color so it kind of aligns with your branding as you want it to. The second option that people really like is called the hosted form, and you can preview how that looks in this View Live Page button, right? So essentially what your web person would do here is they are going to copy this URL at the top, and then they can paste that link into a button on your website like book now or submit an event request. That way, if someone visits your page and clicks on the button, it will redirect them here to this hosted lead form, right? You can make some changes, but the font, the font is going to stay the same. You can't customize the font type, but it's nice. It's really simple and easy to use. So sorry guys, I'm going to go back to this Tripleseat page. What you're also going to want to do is click edit next to an existing form in case you want to make changes, some slight changes to that. Okay. You'll notice in the upper right, here's where you can define which locations, this form can be in reference to which locations within your Tripleseat. Maybe you only want this form to be at the Trattoria, right? Maybe you want people to be able to select which location through the form. You can customize that. And then there's an area for your branding. So it's by default, your lead form is going to pull the logo and banner for your location, but you'll also notice there's this override logo and banner option. Say you are creating a lead form specifically for that holiday marketing campaign. This would be a great place to upload. Maybe you have a seasonal logo, something with a reindeer or something. You could upload that right here and change out the banner as well. That'd be specific to just this lead form. Lower on the page, you'll find an area for your page setup. Right, so you can't change all of the fields, but maybe instead of birthday party or business dinner, right, because this is a holiday lead form, maybe you want to say corporate holiday party, family reunion, holiday family reunion, etc. And then lower down on this page are your form fields. So selecting a field here, right, you can require that the person submitting includes their company. Maybe you want to require that they include their phone and email address. Maybe you really only need their email. Right, you can select these as you need to. Maybe I don't need to require this referred by because I know this is from my marketing campaign. But there are two things here that I really want to point out. This first one, do you guys see where it says display opt-out option for mass emailing? So this matters because legally you cannot collect people's email address and opt them into promotional messaging without their consent. So this verbiage is kind of confusing, but by checking this box, it'll mean there's going to be an option on your lead form where people can opt in to promotional emails. Even if you don't do this now, this just matters because if this box is unchecked, all of your leads that come in online are going to be opted out by default. Then if you ever want to integrate with like a marketing campaign platform like MailChimp or Personika, only leads from Tripleseat that are opted in are going to automatically flow over to those other sites. So you might as well get your data organized how you might want it in the future in case you do want to pursue that option. Here on the left, lead source. Guys, do you remember earlier in settings, preferences, dropdowns, we customized the lead source for holiday campaign. By setting this lead source here to campaign, it will ensure anyone who submits their data to this form will have the source, right, holiday campaign. Then I can customize a report only for leads with this source, right, to get an idea of how much business I actually garnered from paying, right, that marketing for that marketing campaign. So it's just a cool option. And you can also set a minimum guest count. Maybe you only are interested in parties that have 20 or more guests. This way, when people are typing their info into the form, if they don't meet the required guest count, they're going to see this customizable error message, right? Maybe you want to change out that text. You can also set a default start time and end time. So because this is like a specific holiday party, maybe it's going to be, well, it's already 6 to 9. That's pretty ideal. Maybe I'm going to make it 5 to 9. Your guest can still like change this default start and end time, but it'll just, it's going to default to 5 p.m. And then here you can specify a form, so only certain event styles may submit. Maybe I only want on-premise and full service events to be submitted through this form. Great, I'll just uncheck those 2 second, additional options. Next is an area for your auto response email. So anytime somebody submits to this form or to any form, they're going to get a confirmation email. It's from a no reply address, but it simply says, right, by default, like, thank you for your interest. We'll get back to you in 24 hours. You can customize this text however you'd like. I know some people even link their menus. So it'll say, we'll get back to you in 24 hours. Feel free to peruse our like holiday party menu while you wait. Make it a bit more personal. If you did want to insert a link, you would just use this button here that kind of looks like a chain to do so. Another tip, if you're a smaller business and your whole crew is going to take maybe a holiday vacation or a summer vacation, you can change your lead form auto reply to say, thank you for your interest. Like the whole team is off until X date. We apologize for the wait. Look forward to talking to you, make it personal so folks know that you guys are out of office, and you can just update it here in settings when you're back. And then we can click update. So exciting. Excellent. So that covers pretty much everything I really wanted to drive home today. Right, the first portion of today's call talked more about the administrative actions you can take to set parameters around your Tripleseat account, right? Specifically, we walked through your group preferences, your locations, users and user roles, and then we pivoted to those super important resources, including your file library, email template, discussion groups, pick lists, and lastly, your lead form. I've been monitoring this questions box throughout. I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm going to give it a few minutes. If you have a question, please feel free to ask it, and I can answer that and even give you a little demo if that would help. All right, I'm not seeing anything. So I really appreciate you guys for coming today. I hope that was helpful. And I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. If something does come up where you realize you have a question, please reach out to us in support and we would be happy to help you with that. All right, thank you so much. Bye guys.